broad level objectives to keywords that you aspire for to possible metrics that this could achieve for you. Right? Interesting. The good news is you guys are not very far off from what UX should be doing for you. This is kind of what happened to my job over a period of time. It got better, yay! Right? You get paid more, yay! So it's a good time to be a UI designer, and you know, everyone's very happy about it. Design-led companies starting doing better as well. All of these companies on the right-hand side tend to be more design-led, tend to have the processes right, tend to have the user at the center, and they tend to be doing better around it. The mystery around this entire picture is, what are they doing better that this is happening? Everyone says they're doing UX and UI and design. What are they doing better? Now, you guys are saying that UX is about simplicity, is about being intuitive, is about experience for design, all the different things. You know what mostly UX folk are doing in India right now? I call it the UI wave. We're making tons of UI, like mountains of UI. 80% of the time is spent making stuff like this. Okay. So I know there's some of you who are UX designers as part of this group, and a lot of you actually are founders or doing your own thing around there. When you have to go and hire somebody who does UX work, how many of you go to Behance? Everybody else is lying, And you go there, you say that you want simplicity, you say you want better experiences, you want innovation, all those things, but then you go back to this. This is what we are doing in a country under the name of UX, and we have to be aware. So a huge portion of our time, I would say 80% of time, is spent just fine. There's no brownie points for understanding things over here. So the whole idea of risk methodology is that you reduce the risk of failure. Right? Most of you guys are sitting over here, you're setting up companies. What's the risk of failure? What's the risk of failure? Okay, so whatever you're doing is fails. What happens to you?
Restart. Next attempt.
Restart. Yes, that guy's rich. What about everybody else? What happens to you? Okay, nothing happens. Life is good.
Like going back to 15 years back.
Maybe you have to restart. You have to find funding. Your family can suffer. Many things happen, right? It takes a lot of tenacity to be a founder for a company, right? Sorry?
Finding loopholes.
Finding loopholes. What do you mean by that?
Some bugs in the product.
Okay. So this is what's happening, guys. That if you do not mitigate risk, you end up being failures. You fail in really big ways. Failure is not a bad word, but the economic impact on you is huge. And the whole idea of design was actually to give you a methodology to do that better, not to make these things. Along the way, somewhere along the way, we became craftsmen. Right? I'm seriously thinking about opening a stall in Delhi Heart. If you guys don't know what that is, they get craftsmen and artisans across the country and they sell stuff over there. We should have one called UI. Please come and buy something from there. Right? This is not the primary value that you're looking for, and the good part is the world is changing in a way that this will die. All those things are getting better and they're getting smarter and more robust, pretty much in a way that you can pick up components and you can put it in what you're building. You don't have to think about most of the things around there. Your job is not about beautifying something. Yeah? Thank you. Is what you get. That's what that weird acronym means, right? Which means not only are the components, design components, they have code embedded inside that. Right now it's basic front-end code. Now they'll come with APIs embedded inside that so that you can plug and play. So I'll give you an example, right? So I have a team. And at one point of time, I found my team making 5 different versions of an OTP authentication page. I think there was a moment in my life I realized something is wrong. You don't need to do that. Why do I have to reinvent something as straightforward as an OTP authentication page? Every single time there's a new app which is being built. This should be basic stuff. Build, just plug and play. You should not be wasting designer time and developer time in doing things like this. And all this is happening. All this is coming along the way. And then we got this. Right? Some of you Matrix fan be like, yeah, this is good. That's not the intention of the slide. This is supposed to be. This is the world perception. Unfortunately, I think media spend a lot of time talking about AI in a way that will in fact kill us. Right? Movies have done that work. It's all about it. Repeated again and again. It's about that. And recently, Elon Musk also jumped in the same bandwagon. So this is happening. But is this true? Do you guys believe this is what's going to happen? No? Not in the near future, but very far away it will be. They will come and kill us. Right? So, my introduction to AI and ML started with this gentleman. His name is Pedro Domingos, and he does a lot of research around AI and how to use it effectively. So he talked about that there are many different ways of approaching AI. It's not just one way. Right? The perception was that this is one way of approaching AI. Because what AI algorithms do is they try and mimic different ways the brain tends to solve problems. Okay? So one of the ways is a derivative way. So in pure sciences, you can use AI to say that I want the result Y and I know X. What situations plus X will be equal to Y? So in pure sciences, you can use this to prove a hypothesis. That's a certain way that your brain tends to work. So there were about 6 different kinds of algorithms which were made, Bayesian algorithms, different kind of algorithms which was made to be able to come up with AI. What this gentleman is doing is in some groundbreaking work where he's trying to come up with something called the master algorithm. He's trying to bring all of that together into one single algorithm which can switch contexts based on what the need is. So he's coming up with that. So very interesting about what he thinks about AI and what he can do for it. I also had an opportunity of meeting this gentleman who does a lot of work with Google Cloud and ML and AI APIs, building that for different companies. Avinash Kaushik. Okay. So he comes from a marketing background. So he talked about the fact that you can use AI and ML to create UI real time. So one of the ways companies tend to build interfaces, right? So they make version 1, they make version 2, maybe they do some testing with actual users, or they do A/B testing. This can do A to million testing in seconds. It can make that many variations. It can change fonts, it can change elements, move this around, and that's what they're building. They're saying you would not have the need to have UI as a work for optimization. What does that mean? Optimization. Where you try and make flows get better and better, right? So you optimize flows. A lot of the UI work in your companies is done around optimization. So they're trying to take all of this stuff away. And the question which arises for this line of work essentially is, will we then have no jobs? My answer is, if this is exactly what you continue doing, yes. Exactly what you continue doing and calling yourself UX designers when you're making screens, this is what's going to happen. And the takeaway, this takeaway is not just with people who are looking for design careers. This is takeaways for people who are trying to build fantastic experiences for your products. You get a good sense of understanding of what this means. You may not require UI skills, but design thinking abilities will still be needed. Which again goes back to what I talked about. The way you think, that will still be needed. And I'll elaborate why that is special, why that is different, and why that needs to be developed. So to address this change, which this technology will bring in our work, we need to start doing work, especially in India, differently. There might be different regions which are maybe more mature in the way US has done, but in India we need to change this specifically. The first thing, we have to be very clear on what kind of design work is being done in your company. And if you see broadly, there are three kinds. I don't care about graphic design and furniture design and things like that. I care about three kinds from the kind of work. Extreme right, execution work. Design as an execution problem. In the middle, design as an art and philosophy problem. You guys familiar with that? The designers which create objects as part of art and philosophy. Right? And that design as a strategy and innovation problem. They're all different kinds of design work, they're not the same thing. And if you want to get value from design work as part of your organizations, which one of these would you choose? Sorry? Strategy. Strategy sounds nicer. What else? Happy about you doing blockchain or AI, but does not mean you will survive. Traditional education on the left hand side tends to focus towards building very limited thinking. Industrial era. Industrial era said you put more and more people in a room and you teach them the same thing, and like a machine you churn them out to do the same thing over and over again. But the moment you hit innovation is the problem. You can't do that. Can I put like 50 people in a room and say, oh, everybody becomes an innovator because I teach you like 5 things? It doesn't work like that. Innovation requires all of these different things on the right hand side. Edward de Bono has done a lot of work around these things, and developing these skills are very important, not just for designers, you as entrepreneurs. So the latest fad in entrepreneurship, all the executives, is doing something called a design thinking workshop. Have you heard of this before? Yes. Let's do a design thinking workshop. Everything will get better. It's like a popcorn version of putting design as part of it. It doesn't work that way. These thinking skills take a lot of work. Take a lot of work to be able to develop these things in your head and to use that. And this is valuable to everybody. Design thinking or these abilities are not reserved for people who go to design schools. That's also a fallacy. They have all of you guys. These are special skills which will help you get better in direction in terms of what you build. Yeah. Learn techniques and methods around innovation. There are many of them out there. How many of you use these? There are many, many methods out there. Do you guys use innovation methods? How do you know what you're building is right? If I take out the word blockchain and AI, how do you know what you're building is right? Understanding business, how it works, very important. You should have that as well. You should also think about something called building a culture of research. I work very heavily with products and product teams across multiple business lines. And the common challenge that I face with that is there is a huge affection for data. You know what I mean? Right? So a couple of people get in a room every Monday and say, let's look at the numbers. And something is going up or down, and then the remainder half an hour of the meeting is guesswork around why they're going up or down. My question is, how do you know? If you're building a culture that you're going to make better products by sitting in an office in an air-conditioned room with coffee, right? And that will build better products, it doesn't work that way. You have to get in touch with users, and especially when you're innovating. Right? So somebody was recently telling me about the L30 curve. Have you heard of that? L30 curve is something to do with that if you focus on the power users which are mostly using your product at the beginning, and you make your product specially for them, then your product will be successful. Is that true? That sounds fancy. That sounds fancy. Is that true? The reason why it's not true is at the beginning when you're innovating, and all of you guys are innovators, you're building something new, you don't know if the numbers mean what you think they mean. Right? Retention could be anything else. You have no idea what's going on. unless until your product stabilizes, you cannot rely on the data as a takeaway from there. So you have to build research as a culture. And research as a culture especially is important because most organizations, what they do is, oh, we want research, let's go find a vendor and we'll do one research in 6 months. That's not it. How do you make this work? Week after week, month after month, to be done maybe more by machines. It's going to be taking less amount of time. And if design roles and product roles and your business roles are all sitting together and thinking about what to build and how to get empathy, your roles will also merge. In the future, you may not have a separate product manager role. You may not have separate roles with a design manager. You might have actually condensed roles around there, which are skilled enough to do this work. The roles will change. Executives need to start changing. I'm very happy that a lot of people in this room are actually founders in nature. So I have an opportunity of attempting to change your perspective towards what this kind of work is. There is a concept called design value. Design value means what is the value that your company is getting through doing design work. Design value of an organization, I'll read this for you. It's a long sentence. Design value of an organization is a direct correlation to the quality of innovation output, meaningfulness of experiences for the customers, and business performance that you're achieving as part of your work. That's design value. Unless all these things are happening, you don't have design value. Then you just have nice looking screens. You just have things which are beautified by somebody. That's not design value. And executives need to walk away from this. Let's do a design thinking workshop and everything is better. Design schools need to change. I would say even business schools need to change. So to inform what product needs to be built or what business needs to be done, no offense, but most people tend to come from some business school or the other. Unfortunately, empathy is never a subject in a business school. It's completely missing from the curriculum. You get a sense of models, you get a sense of innovation models, you get a sense of business models and what you can apply, but this is a skill which is required. There is a requirement to having a school which brings all of these different abilities together to build entrepreneurs for the next generation. Now that you have the context around how the work is changing, right? How do we start actually designing for AI or using AI, doing better with that? I'm going to give you some practical context around this. Right? I'm not going to give you bylaws which you find online anyway around there. I'm going to give you practical context because PayU is part of the NASPERS group. Right? NASPERS is the core investor. In fact, PayU is pretty much owned by NASPERS. But NASPERS heavily invests in AI as well and propagates AI across its different companies. So I'm going to give you some context around what these companies are actually doing with AI and what not. I was very happy to see this slide in the previous presentations. Thank you for that. And the reason why this is being iterated again for you, I didn't put it right now, it was there before. The reason I'm showing you this slide again as well is technologies, they come and go. The take of these technologies, they come and go. Every second technology is often touted as the one which will change everything. Mobile phones have come, everything will change. Tablets have come, mobile phones will go away. IoT has come, everything will go away. How many times I've heard the story across my career and I can't say it. But the takeaway from this is your human remains constant, which may change at one point as well. But for the foreseeable future, that's a constant for you. Understanding that is very important. So I'll give you an example. So I mentor startups, and the 3 startups I was mentoring who use blockchain technology, and one of them are using blockchain as a way of monitoring how government consumes funds. Okay. And they built this amazing platform, and everything was working, and blockchain is able to track that, and there was zero loss of translation along the way. What do you think happened?
Sorry, didn't use it.
They have shut down the project. Why? It's not shut down yet. But why?
Ahead of their time.
They're ahead of the time. Okay.
Government wasn't
Too
trained
much
for
transparency. Interesting. What do you mean by that? What kind of transparency do we need?
What we need and what they do not want us to. See, that is a critical question.
So you build blockchain, by that logic you should get tons of investment, yeah. Right? But the government people do not want to use it because of transparency. That's a human. That's a human you're designing for. And if they don't use it, it doesn't matter what you build. It's all waste. So you have to start with that concept. Right? AI is a great tool. It's like this amazingly built samurai sword. Do you guys know how samurai swords are built? I've been watching at least 5 movies with people using samurai swords here.
Just forging the steel again and again till it gets very hard.
Wow. And it's very tough, right? It takes a master to build a good samurai sword. And this one, I think, has a name, which I don't know. So they're that good that they have names. It's really hard to build. They keep folding it again and again. It's really, really tough around there. And it's an amazing tool. And then the challenge is, this is what people are thinking of doing with it. Then it's hanging on the wall, might as well chop some onions. So the biggest challenge that I see, even within the mass post companies around there, is how do they actually use AI? Nobody knows. What do you do with it? There are like 5 or 6 categories of areas that are given to you as this is what you can do with it. But how does it translate down to what you're building? What is your idea? How is it going to make sense? None of that stuff comes together. Right? The code is built. You have all these different things. So Avinash did a very good job laying these things out. You got large-scale machine learning services, powerful job discovery. You got all these different things that you can actually plug and play. But how do you use it? Unless until you get that, you don't know. These are the categories on which AI could be used. This is traditionally understood. Computer vision could use this. Natural language, virtual assistants, robotic processing, advanced machine learning. All these different things are areas where you could do that. What does it mean for you? What do you do? Where do you fit? Hard, huh? So there's stuff floating out there, you have no idea what to do with that. And then you get bylaws like this. I'm not showing you Asimov's laws because I want you to follow them, it's just an example. Right? Just by saying, okay, build more trust for users with AI. What do you do with that? Right? So bylaws doesn't help either. You don't have a sense of what to do with these things. You've got to make sense of that. And then you can't slap these things everywhere. Let's put voice everywhere because Alexa is great. Or let's put chatbots everywhere because that works. Can't do that. So recently I was working with a client and we're building a self-help page for them. Right? So people can come and get the query solved. He said, remove all these things over there. Just put a chatbot in front. I was like, do you know how many questions that guy will have to answer to come to a point and say he actually wants to recharge? 20 steps down. Okay, finally he's recharged. It doesn't work like that. You can't just slap anything anywhere. Okay? So how do you do it? I'm not going to give you everything, not because I don't want to, because a lack of time. There's another session after this as well. But I'm going to give you 2 models around how to approach this. These are models how to approach not just AI, but thinking around what your startups are doing and what they're building around it. The first model talks about what problem are you solving. The first model. Okay. With the context of this, everyone's aware. This is like the boogeyman of your nights. Will I be in the 90%? The problem you're solving makes sense if your problem has something called conflict. How many of you watch movies? Stupid question, but raise your hand. Okay, so all of you watch movies. Yeah. Okay, so in film theory, if you have to create an interesting movie, you have something called conflict. Okay, so Hrithik Roshan is getting married. He's about to get married to the girl of her dreams, and in the middle of it, Amrish Puri comes up, right? And he kidnaps the girl from the marriage. Conflict, horrible guy. Right? So movies which tend to have very strong conflict tend to stay with you. Sometimes you go watch a movie and you come back home like, what is the name of the movie? Right? You forget because it doesn't have a strong conflict. Similarly, in your thinking around conflict you solve. Right? Some people call it pain point, but it's actually conflict because it's an opportunity you're looking at. It's not just pain. It's not always pain. It's an opportunity. People are not always coming out and say, hey, I'm feeling this pain, which is why I should do this. It doesn't work that way. So the conflict in this example is taxis. Okay? Who can remember what it felt like to get a taxi to go to airport 10 years back? You guys remember? Okay, so I'll remind you. So the way it used to work is, there used to be a local taxi adda. So if next morning you have to go and catch a cab, you have to first go to that guy or give him a call and then say, do you have a taxi for tomorrow morning? And say, that guy will say, sir, I'll call you back in 1 hour. Okay. And then if you're lucky, he'll call you back. If he calls you back and says, sir, he'll be there. But then he'll be lucky he actually turns up. Right? And then not falling on your neighbor to drive you to the airport if the neighbor had a car. Right? So the potential of conflict was huge. If you talk to people at that time, they say, no problem, life is good. They're okay with that ambiguity, but the potential of the conflict was huge. Now, this conflict, many people tried to solve this. Uber was not the only one. Many people tried to go after that. Right? So the conflict needs to feel something emotional. People are emotional creatures. If they have a strong emotional response to this thing, then your startup or what you're building is onto something. If it doesn't have a strong emotional response attached to this, it's weak. People won't jump onto this. So all the best ones, right, all the most successful ones, they work on a very strong part of your emotions. Facebook, narcissism, right, or the need to peep into the neighbor's house. That's a need. Let's be honest. And it's a strong one, right? What does it feel like being stuck on the road and you have to catch a flight and it's raining on your head? Doesn't feel good. In the context of this conflict, what do people actually want to feel? Do they want to feel joy? Do they want to feel in control? Do they want to feel fear? Tell me businesses which are built around fear. Security, insurance. Also investment world is built on fear. If you don't do this, will happen. Who knows? Skincare. Yeah, exactly. You won't get married. Problem. Yeah. So you have to get down to that what do people want to feel? For an emotional problem, what kind of emotions do you want to generate? That makes it powerful. And then see if you, as an organization, have the strategic advantage or the ability of being able to offer a powerful resolution. What does that mean? Long sentence, I will explain. Okay? Taxi is not there. Okay, yellow pages are there. There are more taxi addas to call because there are more phone numbers. Better. Even better, Meru gets a fleet of cabs, which again is available from app. You can get. Not enough on volume point of view. Even better, anybody who has a car can now give you a service and drive you there. So the power of the conflict and the power of the resolution, if it's well matched, then what you're building is in a good place. Otherwise, you're fairly off in that. The all famous Venn diagram. Everything ends up being a Venn diagram for some reason. This is just to explain it to you. Right? So you're looking at something which is equally powerful conflict, equally powerful resolution, and equally powerful business model. Right? So, big conflict, everybody wants free money. Resolution, you can give it. Business model, you can't make money. You can't do that, right? Sounds familiar? People are doing that? So you have to have this because you guys are building something viable, something which will make money for you. So it needs to come together. And the center of this is something called an emotional opportunity. If you are onto an emotional opportunity, then you have the possibility, still a possibility of success. There are many, many more things which come into making a startup work, but you have a possibility of success. If you're weak over here, AI will not help you. Blockchain will not help you. Right? And then you have to see that in this resolution you're doing, in this resolution or the experience journey you want to provide, is AI relevant at all? What will AI do for you? Will AI anticipate need for you? Will AI make it easy to input queries? Will AI drive meaning on what's going on? Will AI reduce work for your users? Will AI help you stay relevant? What will it do? Can you think of examples of each of these? Lot of companies use AI for these things. A lot of companies do that. Stay relevant, for example.
Chatbots.
Sorry?
Chatbots.
Chatbots is an example for what?
Stay relevant. Like if you have any queries, usually all the websites have a query place wherein chatbots come in.
How do chatbots help you stay relevant?
Because they narrow down the problem, like what exact problem the customer is facing or what exactly the customer is.
But is that a relevance problem or a workload problem? So now putting on the spot, think about it. I'm not expecting you to get this right in one go. But what kind of problem are you solving? Chatbots tend to solve a workload problem. Making you do less work, we will do more work. Staying relevant is something like Netflix sending you very personalized recommendations. And again, I know this is what you watch. See more of this, more of this. And the way to do this is the image recognition technology which they use. That is what is being used on the things that you watch. It's not just saying which category of things that you watch. By image recognition, they can even determine they like to see movies which have a certain tint of color. Noir movies. Right? And the companies and NASPOs who actually do this. They use technology to determine that quality coming up. Right? So you have to make that sense. Then you know where you are. Now, the other news is you have to help companies imagine what AI will do for them as well. And this is the real truth. A McKinsey report, which is very, very latest that I was reading yesterday, it talks about this. It says that it might take up to 12 years for 70% of the companies to adopt at least one type of AI technology. Because people don't know what to do with it. And it's very heterogeneous. You think it's very homogeneous, everyone's running towards AI. Sure, you come into a forum like this and you're having a conversation, but are you going back and saying, we are building AI? You're not doing that. Right? So it will take some time to do that. And the biggest reason is because companies have no idea what to do with that. This is kind of what NASPA's companies do. Just three things. I won't name which company because that's kind of confidential. But this is what they do. Powerful recommendations for companies which do media, a conversational search for companies which are doing ads, etc. And categorizing and cataloging, where a lot of products are being uploaded and automatically they categorize and catalog those products to give ranking. This is what they're using it for, nothing else. And they're the biggest companies. So they don't know what to do with this. And you have to start helping them imagine what AI will do. When I say help them imagine, not the Matrix dystopian world or the Tom Cruise movie where you're pointing at things in the air, but you have to start looking at what the future lifestyles of people is going to be. Whenever you build something for a lifestyle, and you build something for a future lifestyle. In that future lifestyle, if AI fits and makes sense and derives meaning, then you are in a good space. So consider using this model. I'll just give you a high level around that. This model uses 3 layers. The first layer on top is a very common future modeling technique. Right? Sometimes it's called PESTLE. This technique says that when you want to predict what the future will have, you look at social, technology, economical, environmental, political, media, legal, all these different things and what's happening in that time. And that gives you a context of the ecosystem that you exist in. It may be a situation when there's war. It may be a situation when there's a starvation. Doesn't matter, but that situation, what will it create? And in the center of it, it will generate a lifestyle. People will have a certain way of living. I'll give you an example. How many of you are millennials? Raise your hand. Or sort of think you are millennials. Okay. The biggest problem with millennials is what? Your income gap. How much you get compensated versus the cost of living is much larger than what people had in 1980s. So your purchasing power is lesser. Most of us find it hard to even dream about buying a home. Style you are in, you can't buy a home and a half. You invent narratives. Narratives means my new reality of what my life should be. Uber is better. You're stupid. You're buying a house. I just rent. Why would I do that? A house doesn't make sense. I'll rent furniture. I'll do. All of these are new narratives around what is your frame for success, and this gives you clues towards what people want to have in the future. If you want to get a sense of what that person actually aspires for, look at that person's Instagram feed. Instagram will tell you in 5 minutes what that person aspires for. What kind of bike is he standing next to? What kind of clothes is he wearing in a shop, and just taking a picture and taking it off and going back. People do that, these things. And these narratives are very important because this is what you're designing for, guys. This is what you're building products for. So realize these things. You might think these are interesting gyan. You might think these are things maybe for the designer to come into this. This is value for all of you guys. This is how innovation is done. This is how innovation is thought through. Okay, so start embracing this if you want to make sense of AI and ML as part of your work. Yeah, and then don't forget ergonomics. No matter what you do, the human remains the center. Humans will still need to see. Yeah, humans will still have color as in challenge at some point. Humans will still have an issue with how much they can process. Humans will still have memory issues. And all those things are going to happen. Doesn't matter if Alexa is there, those constraints will stay with you as well. Five key points from this. Right? We talked about a lot of things today. A lot of things around state of this kind of work, relevance of design, how this will evolve, how could you approach AI models around that. If these 5 things is what you could walk away from this session, I would think that I've been successful to some extent. Right? So yeah, take pictures is fine. But these, I think, make a lot of